Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Med Talks, presented by Medtrics. Today we're speaking with Suzette Naylor, who is the program coordinator for the Surgical Residency Program for Berkshire Health Systems out of beautiful Pittsfield, Massachusetts. The General Surgery Residency at Berkshire Medical Center provides an excellent learning environment for those seeking a career in general surgery and those interested in further subspecialty training. Berkshire Health Systems is accredited in 10 categorical positions from the ACGME. Their residents complete 5 clinical years of training, including a chief resident year. Suzette, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here and talk about my experience.
Wonderful. We're thrilled to have you with us. I always like to set the stage first. Whenever I'm talking to anyone in the graduate medical education space, I find that some people come to that role through education, others got there via healthcare. Just tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to your current role with Berkshire.
Well, I was a dental hygienist for a long time, 20 years, and then I had to retrain and decided to go into education and became a middle school teacher. And where I really liked the kids, the red tape and the rest of it wasn't as appealing, so I decided to go into adult education. So I got a job. I don't know if you're familiar with the AHEX, Area Health Education Center, and I was the director of education and training there for a long time, doing continuing education program and working with several accreditation boards. I had also done that as a dental hygienist, as the president of the hygienists. So it was interesting how, it came around to that. So then when the funding for the AHEX was kind of threatened, that's when I decided to make the move to Berkshire Medical Center. And again, it was the accreditation. And this one it's a big one, the ACGME. I worked with several and they were no comparison to this one for surgery. We had the Board of Surgery and the ACGME. So it was kind of the accreditation appeal that really, and the funding being possibly in jeopardy with the AHEC, that 5 years ago, I made the move into the surgery department at Berkshire Medical Center.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So you've been there 5 years now. And you mentioned the accreditation piece. That was something that was appealing to you, but I'm guessing that it's also part of the significant challenge that you face every day, right?
To say the least. That is something very, very organized, very good time management. I mean, I don't really struggle with that. I've never struggled with a job as much as I have with this. This one is just extremely busy, especially in March after we match until like now. It will kind of become normal soon and not be insane. So yeah, it's crazy, but the accreditation piece is very interesting and very challenging. So it's helpful to have the system has made it, a little bit easier, which is something I'm always looking for ways to make it easier. Or people, if I have an issue, who they can solve it, like yesterday, it would be very helpful.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit. So you're one of those people, and we hear this among virtually all of Medtrics customers. It's time. How can I save time with this software? But before we talk about the platform or saving time with the software, talk to us about you as a technical person, as a software person. When somebody puts a new software program in front of you, is that exciting to you? Is it challenging to you? How do you think about software and how it facilitates the work that you do on a daily basis?
Describe myself as a technical person. I always tell my son, I joke and say that's why I had him. He's my IT guy. He's 33 and actually he's a pharmacist here and he's a big help with remotes and different things, with my phone and different things like that. So I wouldn't describe myself as technical. I do learn pretty quickly, and I have had experience with other, databases and different things, but not a resident management system like this. So I wouldn't say, but yeah, I think I learned pretty quickly. So, and we were using paper evaluations here. So we were kind of heading backwards, it seemed to me. So I was looking forward to actually learning something new, and I didn't really want to spend a lot of time learning it. I kind of wanted to just learn some, get going, and then solve problems as I went along. I didn't have time to, the job itself had a tremendous amount. I think on the second day I was here, they flew me to Orlando, Florida to an ACGME conference to actually just learn some of the acronyms and other things.
Right, 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 right. No, the learning curve is steep. And my understanding is that Medtrics wasn't the first platform used for GME at Berkshire Health Systems. And I think a lot of this was going on about the time that you arrived. Do you recall some of the reasons the decision was made to switch to Medtrics?
Yeah, the other departments use another system, and they seem to just not want to sway from that. And we were kind of surgery. We were the rebels that kind of broke off from that and decided to try something new. And it was the other coordinator. There were two people that were doing the job, actually. One older woman that retired who was doing the paper, and then another younger one who really wanted to try something new. And she had just thought it seemed like an interesting system that we should look into. Not sure exactly what her reasons were, but she's she has a position in IT now. She's very knowledgeable about technical, software and everything. Far beyond my capabilities. So I just really took her word for it. And then we did, Dr. DeSiena and I, our program director, did the research. We talked to Tosh, and I think we talked to Chris. We had a few phone calls with them. They went over everything. They answered all of our questions. And we just thought we would give it a try, and
you mentioned there some of the questions that you had, and you all, I love the line, surgery, we were the rebels. What were some of the use cases? What were some of the things that you were trying to do with evaluations or some of the other features that you said, we really want an easier way to do this? Do you recall that?
Well, we wanted an easier way I wanted to get away from paper. So I wanted evaluations that were going to be created fairly easily, go out automatically, be, kind of attached to the rotation schedule, go out automatically. I can also like the fact, though, that I can manually send things out if I need to. And then, to the faculty and the residents, they complete rotation evaluations of their rotation. And then my boss really wanted a system that was kind of creative and open to interesting suggestions. He comes up with different ideas that he likes to try. One of them being this Swish operative evaluation, like an evaluation in the OR that we could do using their cell phone, and they then had a barcode on the back of their badge because they weren't as compliant as they could have been. So it made that easier to be able to do that. So he likes that.
Let's spend a minute on that one because you mentioned that in some of the notes that you gave us. Walk us through that Swish operative evaluation and exactly how it's used in the OR. I think it's really interesting. And then talk to us about how that data gets integrated with Medtrics.
It's just they're short templates, and I created one for each of our faculty, and I basically had them send me their list of their common procedures that they do in the OR, and then it's, did the resident need a lot of supervision or minimal supervision, and they're able to put comments, and they evaluate. It's pretty short. It's not a real long evaluation, but it's, directly evaluating their skills in the operating room. And he learned about it at a previous conference and just thought, and now coming to the Board of Surgery EPAs, we were already doing something in the OR, which is kind of lending itself nicely to the EPAs that are now required by the Board of Surgery. Also, that's in a different app, but it did kind of set us up nicely for that. And I could run reports. So when we have our CCC meetings, our CCC loves that CCC competency report, because that just has the rotation that they're on, that they've been on. It has their exam scores. It has their attendance in didactics. It has, a summary of all their evaluation data. So they really like that one. And then I could run a separate operative evaluation report so that they could get, and that's very helpful for patient care. I think it's like 2 and 3 in the milestones, because those are technical skills. And sometimes our CCC committee may not have operated with someone, the interns in particular, especially if they do more complex cases. So they could actually use that data to kind of inform them in determining the milestone, rather than say, gee, I really haven't operated with them. What do you think? So they could really look at, those reports. Especially, like I said, the interns tend to operate with my boss quite a bit. He's a does breast, cases a lot. And so we have quite a few from him, but it was helpful with the CCC.
What can you tell me about it? It's interesting to me that you use those QR codes, and I'm guessing that the goal there is you really want to get those. First off, you want to get those evaluations filled out, but I guess it's also the reason for the QR code is for timeliness, right? You want to get it as close to the moment as possible,
because
right?
They're busy. I mean, they have a lot of cases sometimes in a day, and if they wait, they may not, remember to do it, or they may not remember exactly, you need to kind of do it that day, or even that right after your case if possible, which was why we decided to put it. My boss had the idea for them to put it on the back of their badge so that they had the barcode there. And, they thought that was handy. We had them at first on the wall in the OR, everybody's barcode name, and that didn't seem to go over as well as, on the back of the badge was pretty easy. They can just point their iPhone at it and it opens right up to their operative evaluation, and they could quickly just fill it right out.
That is a tremendous idea, and I hope everyone who listens to this steals that idea. It's a great one. So kudos to you on that. Now, you also mentioned that even though evaluations are super important, currently you don't mandate them, but my understanding is your compliance is still pretty high, and you have a process in place to kind of nudge people when they don't come in. Can you talk to us about your the rules that you put in place for filling out evaluations and how you keep that compliance level up?
I think they all know that they're expected, and of course the EPAs we're working towards they're required. So it's just mainly been me. I use my filters in the evaluations, tab there, assignments to look, I'll filter, I'll go through each resident and the evaluatee, and I'll see what has been completed and what hasn't, and then I'll run them as the evaluator in case they owe anything. And then I just, will easily just resend something. And I like the fact that when you send it out, you can customize a little message saying, gee, please fill this out for so-and-so, I like that, so that you can put a little note in there to them to kind of personalize it. And I also let them know, too, what the email address is, because sometimes they're so busy and they get so many emails that they'll search no reply at medtricslab.com, so that way that makes it easier for them. So anything that makes it that I can do to just gently, nicely remind them. And then sometimes I'll even take a screenshot. I'll run what they owe, run them as the evaluator, and then take a screenshot and email it to them saying, well, you owe me, 6 evaluations. So that will be a little more of a, bigger nudge. Yeah, so that just is helpful for, to be able to do that. There's a lot of tracking and follow-up with this job. So it definitely makes it easier to do that.
let's move on to logging of bedside procedures. You use Medtrics for that as well,
they don't
correct?
really log their cases because they log their cases in the ADS and the ACGME system, but they do definitely log their bedside procedures. We have evaluations for those that they have filled out, the interns do, and then we mark them as credentialed in the system. I believe somewhere, and I'm not sure where it is. I have to find out. Someone asked me about it yesterday. I believe nursing there's a link that they can't access Medtrics, but they can access just the fact as to whether they're credentialed in the different bedside procedures, such as I think they need 5 central lines, 5 intubations, 5 chest tubes. So those are some examples of what they need for the evaluations. And then they're marked in Medtrics as credentialed. And then other staff, like the nurses or people that really need to know if they've been credentialed in that procedure, can actually look.
So Suzette, when you think about Medtrics, what role has the Medtrics team played in providing your team with support through the years?
The Medtrics team has been great. I mean, they have just been very helpful. They get back to me very quickly, and they meet with me on Zoom to go over things so that I can actually see how they're doing it, and they make sure I understand. And then, so I don't have to take notes, so I can pay attention. They'll send me the video afterwards so that I can have that video to refer to. Because with this job being busy, I mean, we get pulled in so many different directions, and there's so much to do and remember and keep track of that it's easy to watch something on Zoom and then forget how to do it. Yeah, it could be my age, I don't know. But it's nice to have
let me ask you this. The videos help a lot. Do you some Medtrics clients find that they find themselves see, I'm the one who's tripping up the lines today. You're awesome. But when we talk about support with Medtrics, a lot of people love those videos that they send over. Other people tell us that they like to use the knowledge base. Do you personally use the knowledge base?
Yeah, I've used that also. Yeah, definitely. I'll go in there and review something, or sometimes I'll just be busy and have an issue and email them, and they'll just, even Tosh has hopped on and said, I'll go over this with you on Zoom. I'll have a Zoom meeting, and, I don't even have to do that. They'll go over it with me themselves, which I think is really nice.
You sound like somebody who, through the course of these 5 years, you become truly what we call a power user of the platform. You understand it upside down and backwards. What are just 1 or 2 of the features that you just absolutely love, that throughout the course of your day? Here's something I need to do. Oh my goodness, I'm glad I have Medtrics because this makes it easier to do my job. Is there a couple features that stand out to you?
I think having everything in that system is very helpful. Just having all of their MPI, their social security number, their everything, their licenses, everything in there. Like this morning, I had someone that needed meal card numbers. He's newer to the cafeteria staff, and I needed him to add money to their meal cards, and he didn't have all the numbers in one place. I easily went into Medtrics, and I needed several to add to a list I had, and it took me just a matter of moments to look up each different user resident and get their meal card number out of there. My residents, one thing I found that was interesting, I had one who was graduating last year, and she said it is extremely helpful. All of the documents and certifications on that page, all of the things that you have put in there, you've spent time uploading our contracts, our licenses, our certifications, NPI, you name it, it's in there. And that way, exam scores, their milestone meeting documents in case they meet for a short time and then they want to review everything. And she said when they apply for their fellowships in their 4th year, they need different things that are in there, and to have it all in one place, she found was just, saved her a lot of time, and she was very appreciative of that. Another thing that I really like is I find it helpful to track scholarly activity. For the faculty and the residents, I tend to enter, they definitely don't have time to do it. So I tend to enter their scholarly activity in there. And it also, when we have our milestone meetings and our CCC meetings, I can run a nice summary or like a kind of a report. So I have all of their scholarly activity. And then when we do our annual report, I have to report on their scholarly activity. And so it's quite helpful with that. Those were two things that you might not necessarily think of. They weren't necessarily an evaluation. We do like I said, the CCC report. That's very handy. And two things I'd like to find the time to use more are the resources and the project sections. I don't use those much. I always think that I would like to. I just haven't had the time to yet. But I'm hoping.
Well, it sounds like you're making great use of the platform.
Definitely.
So I think you're doing and you actually, that was a great transition, because I was going to ask you about features that you haven't used that you want to get to. When you think about the platform today, I always like to ask the people on these calls, because you're so gracious in sharing your time with us. Are there any missing features? Is there anything that you and your team have sat around the table saying, I wish Medtrics did this or that?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but like I told you, my boss his wheels are always turning, and he can come up with an idea like those operative evaluations or, different things that he reads about and would like to try. And I think he likes the fact that you guys are open to suggestions or trying new things, and giving it a try. Whereas, it's just, that's nice. But I don't think there's anything that we've thought of, because we would have contacted you and told you.
And we would certainly encourage you to do so. For my last question, I just want to talk to you. You started this interview talking to us about time and how busy you are, and throughout the interview, you've also you've highlighted these are the features that are truly saving me time. This is a really difficult question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, which is, just talk to me about time in your life, how you think about productive uses of time, non-productive uses of time. Are you one of those people that's constantly looking to save 5 minutes here? Just talk to me about the role of time and how it impacts how you do your job on a daily basis.
I would say, I think like I've told you before, I think I'm you have to be really organized to do this job and good at time management, or you would just lose your mind. But I think that I try to always look for ways to save time with this job, just to make it easier. So if there's anything that I can do to do that. So I will tend to just, look at ways. And also, like with my boss, we like different creative things that might be helpful to us, especially, or helpful to our residents, giving them real-time feedback or, different things that would really help them out. We run a lot. I forgot to mention too, we run weekly work hour reports. So we're always tracking their work hours weekly to make sure that they stay within the 80-hour rule. We track their clinic time to make sure that their surgery residents are very busy and they're struggling with getting to clinic. It's required 1/2 day a week. So we track their clinic time every week, making sure of that. Also their violations. It's a very easy system for them to go in and write a justification and for us to quickly review it. So those different things, just, are time savers to be able to run those reports on those. Those are pretty important things that we track on a weekly basis. The violations we don't track every week, but those that, but I am always looking for different ways that I could maybe use the system to make things easier.
It's difficult for me to even fathom what, prior to having a system in place, when this would have been done manually on paper, how would have you even done something like that? You couldn't have done it on a weekly basis, right?
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it was done. I mean, or who. Maybe it wasn't my role that helped get it done. And like where I come from, that my accreditation stuff is my favorite and my area of expertise, far more than the secretarial skills like the minutes. I just like that, and it is very challenging also, and a boatload of work, but it definitely is something that, I think I might have stepped into finding ways to be able to. Yeah, or we've had different, if something comes up on your ACGME survey, one person checks that, they aren't getting to clinic or different things, you really have to follow up on that and make sure that we're getting those things done. So we've been pretty strict about, the weekly work hour reports, and I screenshot it and save a copy of it. And the clinic time. I mean, those are big things with the ACGME, and the scholarly activity. That's another big one. So I tend to kind of hit all the big ones. And then when I have time, I look for ways to, save time or look for the smaller things that I can,
Prioritizing is key when somebody has limited hours in the day. I said that was going to be my last question, but I tend to forget that I always end with two questions. My second final question for you is, you've been now in graduate medical education for 5 years, real deep healthcare experience, previously in other roles. Let's forget about time. Let's forget about Medtrics. What's the biggest challenge that you think graduate medical education needs to achieve, or what's something that you all sit around the table saying, here's what this industry really needs? And this can be, we've had clients share with us, it's affordability. How do we make it more cost effective to provide this type of education? Other people say it's access to healthcare for patients. When you think of graduate medical education, what's one of the issues that you find yourself saying, as an industry, we need to do better about this?
Doing the best for, as far as our residents, with them in mind, because that's my job, is just to make sure that, they're my top priority. Just making sure that their needs are met, that they get the best possible, meaningful, like real-time feedback, from their evaluations, that I always drop what I'm doing. Like if they send me a receipt, do a check request. I just always try to put them first as much as I can. So any way that I can save time and, make my job easier is great, because then I can do things to help them as well. We prioritize their wellness also. So I have different things that I, keep track of and do for them in that regard. So I would just say, with them in mind, it would be just streamlining, and again, I mean, definitely improving patient care. That's more their job or the hospital's job. But with regard,
you want to do your piece, which is how do I make it easier for them to do their job? You're Suzette, I think we call that servant leadership, and I am sure all the residents and your team are grateful to you for that. Thank you so much for your time today. We really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. It was very nice to be here, and I still have time to make it to my 12 o'clock meeting, so that's great. And
that is always a goal. I'm going to take it out right here. Suzette Naylor is the program coordinator for the Surgical Residency Program for Berkshire Health Systems out of Pittsfield, Massachusetts. You can learn more about them at berkshirehealthsystems.org. Our friends at Medtrics would like to remind you to get back to what matters: practice medicine, not software. For everyone at Medtrics, I'm Marcus Grimm.